This video is the year in wrestling 1997 part 3 that you're watching right now. I'm going to talk about some stuff from the beginning of 97 that I forgot to talk about in my other two videos. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about the ECW invasion in 97 on Monday Night Raw. I think it was from February 97 Monday Night Raw, where you had ECW superstars and wrestlers and talents show up on Raw and have some matches. If my voice sounds a bit different, I feel like I have a sore throat, but whatever, who cares? So ECW on Raw, you had matches like Taz versus Mikey Whipwreck. You had Sabu jump off the letters, the Raw letters, were the part of the Raw entrance in 96 and 97. For a short time in 97, they still had the giant letters of Raw, R-A-W. Sabu got on the R, dove off it onto Team Taz. You had the Sandman come out to the ring, and Tommy Dreamer. I think the one-on-one match was Dreamer versus Devon Dudley on Raw. And then the Sandman came out and caned the Dudley boys. And you had the Eliminators come out in the beginning and hit total elimination. And then Paul Heyman got on the microphone and was in the ring and screamed, "ECW is in the house." And then Paul Heyman was on commentary for a little while, and he was sitting in the crowd, and he was on the microphone and said, "Has Raw sucked without ECW or what?" And he was right. ECW definitely helped the WWF in February 97, because in February 97, the WWF product was not very good. It was okay, it wasn't bad, but the storylines, and it wasn't that good. WCW was kicking their ass on Monday nights in February 97. So I understand why WWF brought in ECW in February 97, because they needed help, they needed something, they needed a spark to light a fire and try to take on Nitro and defeat Nitro, and they never did until April 98. So I really enjoyed ECW showing up on Raw in February 97. I thought it was super entertaining and fun to watch. Now I'm going to talk about the Macho Man Diamond Dallas Page feud, which started in March of 97 at WCW Uncensored, where you had Macho Man come out, do a promo, was with Miss Elizabeth. She was in the NWO already, and she was back with the Macho Man managing him. So Macho Man gets on the mic and brings up DDP's wife at the time, Kimberly. She posed in an adult magazine. I don't know what, I think it was a Hustler magazine or some type of adult magazine. Kimberly posed nude in. Not a big deal. I don't judge anybody. They want to get naked. They want to do porn. I don't give a fuck. They can do whatever they want. It's not my place to judge anybody and what they do. They can do whatever they want. It's a free country. If they need to make money any way they want, go ahead and make it. Anyways, Macho Man shows the adult magazine that Kimberly was in. He opens it and he shows it to the entire audience and the pay-per-view audience at Uncensored. And they had the letters, the NWO, spray painted perfectly over Kimberly's body parts, over her breasts and over her down there. I don't know what else to call it. Anyways, they had the NWO letters sprayed over her breasts and over her privates, so you couldn't see that part. But you could see that she was in an adult magazine and she posed nude. So then Macho Man, I believe he said some comment that was really pissed off Diamond Dallas Page and offended him. Anyways, DDP came out, and then Kimberly came out and had her dress spray painted the NWO letters on it. So DDP turned around, started going towards Kimberly, and then from behind, Macho Man Randy Savage took him out and laid him out. And then I believe Macho Man and Elizabeth spray painted DDP and put the NWO letters on him when he was laid out. The DDP Macho Man feud in '97 was fucking awesome. I loved it. It was great, great stuff from WCW. Now I'm going to talk about, I meant to show this the last video, but I didn't get around to it. I went to WWF house show in '97. I went to 2 of them. This was the first one from May 4th, '97. It did not have a name for the tour or for the house show. It was just a WWF house show. I saw Vader was there. Undertaker was there. Undertaker was world champion at the time. Stone Cold was on the card. I think Rockabilly was even on the card. Billy Gunn and Jesse James. Road Dogg was there. I can't remember who else. I think one of the Los Bolicuas was there. Savio Vega was there. Anyways, here's the ticket. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see the date on it, because it's really faded, because it's from May '97. Anyways, here is the ticket. If you can see, it says May. Anyways, it's from May 4th, 1997. Is when, here it is. Here's the ticket stub. I was there. So that was a pretty awesome house show. That's where I bought my first Austin 316 shirt and the Stone Cold Says So videotape at that house show. That was May 4th, '97. Just thought I would share that and show you that I was there. And the ticket was only, it was a $25 ticket, and I had pretty damn good seats for only $25. I was near the ring, probably in row, I don't know, row 15, so I had pretty good seats on the floor. Now I'm going to talk about WCW. Where did I end my last video? I ended talking about King of the Ring, so I'm going to start talking about WCW Bash at the, not Bash at the Beach, Great American Bash, '97 pay-per-view that WCW put on. It was June 15th, '97. First on the pay-per-view was the Ultimo Dragon defeated Psychosis by submission. They always put on pretty good matches, those two guys. Harlem Heat defeated the Steiner Brothers by disqualification. So then Harlem Heat would earn a tag team title shot in the future. Conan defeated Hugh Morris and nobody gave a F. Glacier defeated Wrath. Wrath was Adam Bomb from the WWF. He also was the Night Stalker in 1991 in WCW. Women's Championship. Again, a Japanese women's wrestler was the champion, I guess. And she defeated Medusa. And if Medusa lost, she would have to retire. So she would retire. And she did return in late '99. She would return to the ring to wrestle, and she actually won the WCW Cruiserweight title. did Medusa. I don't know who decided to give her the Cruiserweight title, but that was a stupid idea. It was probably Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara, because they were both in WCW at the end of '99 as the head writers. So, very dumb decision by them. And then Medusa would have one more match at WCW Fall Brawl 2000, which was a fucking mess. It was a tag team scaffold match where it was Medusa and Kidman against Shane Douglas and Torrie Wilson. It was a mess. Back to Great American Bash. So Medusa had to retire, and she would stay retired for about 2 years. And before she wrestled again in '99, she would join the Macho Man in Team Madness with Mona. I think what her name was, Mona, and Gorgeous George. Mona was later to be Molly Holly in the WWF. Up next was Chris Benoit against Meng, and Chris Benoit would defeat Meng. And they always put on hard-hitting, pretty good matches. Kevin Green defeated Steve McMichael after Jeff Jarrett accidentally hit Steve McMichael with his steel briefcase. 2 football players wrestling one-on-one. Pretty stupid, and nobody really cared. World Tag Team Champions Scott Hall and Kevin Nash defeated the team of Ric Flair and Rowdy Piper to retain the tag titles. Randy Savage, the Macho Man, defeated Diamond Dallas Page after Scott Hall interfered. And I think this match was might have been last man standing at Great American Bash 97 between DDP and Macho Man. I really don't remember, but I think it was a last man standing or a gimmick match, like a street fight type match. So that was Great American Bash 97. There were some good matches on the show. My favorite personally was DDP versus Macho Man. Up next, I'm going to talk about WWF In Your House from July 97. It was from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, home of Bret Hart and the Hart family. Trying to find the matches for In Your House. July 6th, 97 was In Your House from Calgary, Alberta, and it was called the Canadian Stampede. Pay-per-view matches: Mankind and Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley wrestled to a double disqualification. It was a brawl. They ended up going outside the arena and fighting. Triple H got busted open a little bit and bled, and it was entertaining. The Great Sasuke defeated Taka Michinoku. I don't know why they brought in the Great Sasuke. I really don't know why. He only worked one pay-per-view, and he never stayed around to join the WWF light heavyweight divisions. I didn't get it. But maybe they couldn't work out a deal with him or something. I don't know. Up next, The Undertaker defeated Vader. And it wasn't supposed to be Vader. It was supposed to be Undertaker versus Ahmed Johnson. But Ahmed Johnson got injured, so Vader was put in his spot. In the main event, this pay-per-view only had 1, 2, 3, only 4 to 5 matches on the main pay-per-view. Very weak pay-per-view event from the WWF. But they were building into SummerSlam, so you can't expect that much from a July pay-per-view event. The team of the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Brian Pillman, Owen Hart, and Davey Boy Smith defeated the team of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Goldust, Ken Shamrock, and the Legion of Doom, when Owen Hart pinned for the finish, pinned Stone Cold Steve Austin for the win. And then at the end of the pay-per-view, and the end of the match, end of the main event, you had the entire Hart family get invited into the ring and come in the ring. If you look back at that, you can see Tyson Kidd gets in the ring. He's really young. I don't know how young he was at the time, probably 14 or 15. You can even see Natty Neidhart. She comes in the ring and she's there. I'm not sure how old she was then. Probably 14 or between, I don't know, 14 or 15. Or maybe she was 13. I don't know. But Natty Neidhart was in the ring. Tyson Kidd was in the ring. They're future superstars from, and Tyson Kidd, friend of the Hart family. Of course, Natty is in the Hart family. Who else came in the ring? Stu Hart, British Bulldog's wife, Diana Hart, and I believe Owen Hart was holding his kids. Really sad. Owen Hart and his children, really sad they had to grow up without their father around. They only knew him for maybe a couple years. That was In Your House, Canadian Stampede. And as I said, it was a very weak pay-per-view event from the WWF. I'm not saying the main event was bad. The 5-on-5 main event was not bad. It went really long. It probably went 40 minutes or longer. It wasn't bad. It was just the pay-per-view did not have a lot of matches on it and not a lot of build. And there was no build up to any of the other matches, really. They were just thrown together. So that made for a pretty boring pay-per-view before the main event. Now I'm going to talk about, let's see, WCW Bash at the Beach 97, where Mortis, the first match, Bash at the Beach, took place July 13th, 97. Before In Your House took place before Bash at the Beach in July. First match was the team of Wrath and Mortis defeating the team of Glacier and Ernest Miller. Ernest the Cat Miller was I believe a karate, martial arts, karate world champion, and he was a good friend of Eric Bischoff, so that's how he got in WCW. I believe he trained Bischoff's son and gave him free karate lessons or something like that, I heard. That's how he got hired, because he was training Bischoff's son in karate. So Bischoff decided to hire him and that he'd make a good pro wrestler and people would care about him. I don't think Ernest Miller, I'm sure he's a nice guy, I'm sure he's a good guy, but I don't think anybody would ever say Ernest the Cat Miller was ever anybody's favorite wrestler. I don't think he was. He just wasn't very good, and he didn't pick up pro wrestling very well. And you could say he got over a little bit when he was WCW commissioner, and he had the gimmick of Somebody Call My Mama and that theme music, and he had a okay character, but I don't think anybody cared about Ernest Miller, and I don't think anybody would ever care if he never came to WCW. So they defeat Glacier again and Ernest Miller. The Glacier versus Mortis versus Wrath feud was getting super boring and really overplayed. And I think Bash at the Beach might have been the last pay-per-view where, I don't even know, maybe it went on and on for 2 more months. I don't know. Glacier and Mortis matches. I don't remember if it went on. Up next, Cruiserweight Championship, or Cruiserweight Champ, Chris Jericho defeated Ultimo Dragon. These two guys had a great matchup. It was entertaining as hell. It was fun to watch. The Steiner brothers defeat the team from Japan, Masahiro Chono and the Great Muta. This was a pretty good tag match. If it would have been 3 years earlier, in 93 or 92, the Steiners would have had a much better match with Masahiro Chono and the Great Muta, but it was 97, so the Steiners were slowing down. In 97, they weren't as good as they used to be. Their careers were winding down, and it was a decent match, but it could have been better if it was years earlier. So the Steiners win that match. They win it. They defeat Great Muta and Masahiro Chono. Up next, Hector Garza, Juventud Guerrero, and Liz Mark Jr. Cruiserweight action, Lucha Libre action. They defeat the team of La Parca, Viano 4, and Psychosis. This was a high-flying, crazy cruiserweight spot fest, and it was entertaining as hell. It was a good cruiserweight match. It was fast-paced, and it was a non-stop action in it. Up next, Jeff Jarrett, U.S. champion, defeated Steve McMichael. Steve McMichael, Jeff Jarrett matches were boring and old as fuck in 97, and they feuded way too long just because Deborah, Steve McMichael's former wife, Deborah, went out to manage Jeff Jarrett, so I guess that's why they feuded so long. But it was just stupid and pointless, and nobody cared about Steve McMichael versus Jeff Jarrett. Nobody cared about it. Jeff Jarrett, great worker. Great mind for the business. Steve McMichael, not a great worker, not a great mind for the business. Their matches were not good, and they just did not work well together. And I blame that on Steve McMichael's inexperience of being a pro wrestler. And even if he would have had experience, Steve McMichael would have never been over and became a top star anyway. Up next, Chris Benoit and Kevin Sullivan continued their feud, and this was a straight-up street fight. Chris Benoit defeats Kevin Sullivan after Jacqueline came into WCW. I believe this was her first pay-per-view working for WCW. After Jacqueline hit Kevin Sullivan with a chair. As a result of the pre-match stipulation, Kevin Sullivan had to retire because he lost. And he would retire, but he would return for like 1 or 2 matches on the Indies, I think, in 2002. Up next was a tag team match with a lot of star power in it. You had the team of Scott Hall and the Macho Man, Randy Savage, taking on and defeating the team of Kurt Hennig and Diamond Dallas Page. And this was Kurt Hennig's first WCW pay-per-view. This was his pay-per-view debut. He looked pretty good in it. And it was, again, for me, it was odd seeing Kurt Hennig in WCW. Just like it was odd to see Jeff Jarrett in WCW. I don't know why. It just was weird to see them in WCW, but they were there. And later on, Kurt Hennig at Fall Brawl 97 would turn on Ric Flair and the Horsemen and bash Flair's skull in with the cage door and join the NWO. So this was July, so in September, Kurt Hennig would turn heel and join the NWO. Up next, this match is a fun match to watch. It's sad to watch now because Roddy Piper has passed away. But Roddy Piper defeated Nature Boy Ric Flair. And as I said, it's a fun match to watch, but it's pretty damn sad to watch knowing that Piper is gone. The main event was the Giant and Lex Luger, Team WCW, taking on the NWO, the team of Hollywood, Hulk Hogan, and Dennis the Worm Rodman, Rodzilla, came into WCW. He came in at Uncensored 97. He was there for an uncensored appearance. Then he would show up on a Nitro, I believe in the summer of 97. So, and then Rodman was he was there to work. Bash at the Beach 97, and he did not do bad at all. He did pretty well for not being a wrestler. He picked up the moves. He did the moves well. He looked like he belonged in there. He was a really tall guy, obviously, because he was a great basketball Hall of Famer. So he was really tall, and he picked up wrestling pretty damn fast. For his first match on a live pay-per-view, Dennis Rodman, I thought, did very well for himself. And I believe Hogan was trained him and had him in the gym, in the ring, and trained him. And Rodman was known for being a partier and showing up late, sometimes late to nitros, and showing up late to training hungover. Well, Hogan got word that he was partying too hard, and he was hungover, and he showed up late for training to wrestle, and Hogan basically straightened him out and yelled at Rodman and threatened him that if he didn't show up and bring his A game at the pay-per-view Bash at the Beach, that Hogan was going to kick his ass. So maybe that's true. I think it is that Hogan had to basically get Rodman in shape and get inside his head and scare him to be there at the pay-per-view and not be drunk or high, and basically just be on his A game. And Rodman was on his A game, and I'm sure Hogan had a lot to do with that. So that was Bash at the Beach 97, and the team of the Giant the Giant and Lex Luger defeated the team of Hollywood, Hogan, and Dennis Rodman, the Worm. I don't know why I said and the Dennis Rodman. It's just Dennis Rodman. So Bash at the Beach 97, another entertaining pay-per-view from WCW, had a couple good matches on it. I'm going to talk about now, I'm going to go back a little bit to March 97, where Monday Night Raw for the first time, went to 2 hours, to a 2-hour show. They were 1 hour for 3 years. From 93 to 97, or till March 97, from January 93 to March 97, Monday Night Raw was only a 1 hour show. Obviously, WWF had to go to 2 hours for Monday Night Raw because Nitro went to 2 hours in 96. And Nitro kept kicking their fucking ass when they were 2 hours. Nitro owned Raw in 96 after the NWO storyline started. And after Scott Hall and Kevin Nash came in. Obviously, everybody knows Nitro kicked Raw's ass from 96 until the middle of 98. So Raw going to 2 hours, WWF had to do that to compete with Nitro. They just had to, and I'm glad they did. And another thing I'm going to talk about is WCW, the good stuff they did. Bischoff gets a lot of hate, but Bischoff did a lot of good things for WCW. He took Nitro to 2 hours, and he took Nitro live each and every week. WCW Monday Night Nitro was live. Raw was not. It was taped a lot of the time. I think in 94, 95, 96, and part of the beginning of 97, Monday Night Raw was live sometimes, but not every week. Obviously, it cost too much money at the time for the WWF to run Raw live. So they could not, and they did not. They taped a lot of Raws Like, they tape SmackDown now. SmackDown is never live. Unless it's like a week before WrestleMania and SmackDown goes live. Anyways, Raw had to go live. Nitro was live each and every week. That was a great, great decision by Bischoff to do that. And he did give away a lot of results to Raw in '96. He gave away a lot of their results because they were taped and you could get the results. Was that a dirty tactic? Probably, but Bischoff didn't care. He was told to make WCW #1, and he did. So who cares that he gave away the results? It did not piss me off. I'm sure it pissed off Vince in the WWF. I'm sure they hated it, but Bischoff didn't care at the time that he gave away the results. It was better for Nitro, I'm sure. Except in late '98, when Tony Schiavone was told to say Mick Foley, Cactus, worked here as Cactus Jack, Mick Foley is going to win their world title. And then he said, oh, that will put some butts in seats. And then Nitro went to commercial. Well, then, you know the story, like, half of their audience, probably 600,000 people switched over then to watch a taped Monday Night Raw and to watch Mankind win the world title from The Rock. So that backfired big time on WCW, and I'm sure Bischoff or somebody told Tony Schiavone to say that about Mick Foley winning the world title. That backfired big time, and that was a stupid move by WCW. But I'm sure they thought it'd work at the time. Anyways, Nitro going live every week, that was awesome. And that was a great decision. Raw going to 2 hours. They had to do it, and that was also a good decision. And I think, I still think WCW in '97 on Monday nights, I still think WCW had the better show. More entertaining, more exciting because of the NWO storyline. And Sting, always in the crowd, in the rafters, they were always showing Sting. And Sting would come out, sometimes come in the ring in '97 and beat the crap out of the NWO. That was awesome. Not saying Raw had a bad show in '97. They had a very good shows. They put on a lot of good shows. They had a great show in September '97 from Madison Square Garden where Stone Cold stunnered Vince McMahon, who was the announcer at the time, and the commentator. He wasn't a Mr. McMahon character. He was just an announcer. But everybody knew he was the boss, obviously. And if you didn't know Vince McMahon owned the company in '97, you were a fucking idiot. Anyway, Stone Cold stunning him, that was a great moment. That was a great Monday Night Raw. And Stone Cold stunning Vince, that probably turned the corner and gave WWF a lot of momentum to start taking on WCW Nitro and to start taking more people away from Nitro. But they did not win a Monday Night War until April '98. And I'm not going to bring up '95 when Nitro started. Obviously, I know Nitro won. But they traded victories back and forth in '95 and '96. They traded victories back and forth on Monday nights. WWF won some nights, and then some other Monday nights, Nitro won. I think after Scott Hall and Kevin Nash came into WCW in '96, I'm sure Nitro probably beat Raw every single week, because Nitro did go on a run of 83 weeks in a row of beating Monday Night Raw. So I'm done now talking about part 3. This was part 3 of the Year in Wrestling 1997 video. I hope you enjoyed it. I talked about In Your House Canadian Stampede, Bash at the Beach, Great American Bash, and I think that's the only pay-per-views I talked about, because I didn't want this video to go too long. And I talked about ECW on Raw in February. I talked about Dennis Rodman coming into WCW. And I talked about the Macho Man showing the adult magazine with Kimberly in it and the Macho Man and DDP feud I discussed. I'm done now. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll have another video up in 1 or 2 days. Part 4 of the year in Wrestling 97. This was part 3 of the year in Wrestling 1997. Hope you enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter. If you have a Twitter account, I'm at TNA WWE Guy and at NXT WWE Guy. Bye for now.